Welcome to the third video in this four-part video series called Our Class, Our Voice, which will help you empower your students with more autonomy and choice. I'm Matt Miller, author of Ditch That Textbook, and I'm joined by Gina Ruffcorn, a 19-year veteran teacher whose fifth graders run the show in many ways in her classroom. Gina, we're on the third video already. Can you believe it? Like, how much fun has this been?
It's actually been a lot more fun. I was so nervous when we started. It feels pretty good now.
Yeah. Oh, it's been fun to go over things, and it's also been so much fun to see what everybody's been writing. People have shared some really good ideas and suggestions, like stuff that they're doing in their class, and I think some people are excited about trying some of the stuff we've talked about, right?
I'm excited about sharing this stuff. I'm always thrilled to get feedback, whether it's from other teachers or whether it's from my kids. So yeah, I'm all in.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Gina, of course, is the pink-haired fifth grade teacher in room 508 at West Harrison Community School in Mondayman, Iowa. And if you haven't been to room 508, and let me tell you, believe it or not, I actually did get a chance to go to room 508. I'm actually digging for that picture frantically right now. There it is.
There it is.
So if you haven't had a chance to be in room 508, you'll be blown away at the autonomy and voice that students get in Gina's class. Now, this video series is full of Gina's best advice, tips, and strategies to give that level of autonomy and voice to your students too. Now, if you haven't gotten to see the first two videos, I highly recommend that you go back and check them out first. Like right now, like leave this video and go watch them if you haven't, because they are so full of practical things that will transform the culture of your classroom. In the first video, Gina shared how her students vote on all sorts of big and small things, from classroom lighting to the types of projects and everything in between. In the second video, we talked about all the surveys that Gina's students do. And your students can benefit from them too, from the first week of school survey to the pulse checks to the daily quick check-ins. Now, in this video today, our third video, we're going to take a close look at something that makes Gina's class quite unique, and that is classroom jobs. Now, Gina, when you originally learned about classroom jobs for students, you hadn't really heard of them for students as old as fifth graders, right?
No, I had taught first grade, and my little first graders, my littles had jobs. And when I was moved up from first grade into fifth grade, I put my job board away. I didn't even think another thing about it. I'd never seen fifth graders with jobs in their rooms. And so all of that stuff sat for, I don't know, a year or so before I thought, wait. I am dropping the ball on a lot of things, and there are 20 of them and only one of me. And why can't they have jobs?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it kind of scaled up in that way from like the littles up to your fifth graders. Now, this could even potentially work like all the way up to middle school students. I mean, it could potentially even go higher than that, right?
Exactly. Some of the stuff that my kids do and really enjoy as jobs is things that could be easily applied to littles all the way up through junior high, maybe even into high school, some of those things. Or the idea could be used and altered a little bit to fit the age group. Some of its stuff is very, very universal, very applicable, very easy to implement no matter what grade you teach.
Yeah. Okay. So let's stop talking in generalities here and get down to the specifics, because I know there's probably some folks here that are watching that are like, okay, let me see the jobs. What are the jobs that we're talking about here? So can you kind of give us a brief tour of some of the jobs that your students actually do?
Sure. My kids have got some of the general jobs that most classrooms have: line leader. Let's see what else. Oh, board monitor to erase your whiteboards at the end of the night and things. But then my kids have got some other jobs that are more off the beaten path than your normal jobs would be. We have my favorite, well, one of my favorites is timekeeper, because where I am teaching from in my room, I cannot see the clock to save my life. And so I have a timekeeper who keeps me on track and makes sure that I don't veer off the path and go all over everywhere and run through other times when I'm supposed to be teaching a different content area. We have an insurance officer who is that person that if there is a classroom tragedy, like someone has dropped all their crayons all over the floor or any of those other things that could potentially cause 12 children to jump up and run to that one area to assist the one child that has the tragedy with the crayons. We just have one insurance officer. That's their job. Whenever anything like that pops up, something unexpected, insurance officer is on top of it, and it cuts down on a lot of extra fussiness in a classroom. We have the person who is our go noodler who picks our morning activities, which keeps the kids from growling at me that I never ever pick anything different than the songs that I like them to have interactions with. We have a cabinet captain who's in charge of indoor recess games. In the Midwest, we spend quite a bit of time during indoor recess in the winter. I don't want to go over there and clean out that cabinet every time they come back from indoor recess, but there are little kids, fifth graders, older kids, littler kids, all sorts of kids who would like to be in charge of something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It
Yes.
works for them. They're enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Okay. So after seeing that graphic and hearing you go through those, I have so many questions. Like I think we could sit and talk about this all day. So first, how do you determine which kids get which jobs? Like, do several kids want the same job? Like, how do you navigate all of that?
There, once the year kind of kicks in and kids decide which jobs they prefer, then yes, there are generally issues between who wants what. And so we have this universal equality buster called popsicle sticks with your name on them. And so we draw popsicle sticks. And when your stick gets pulled, you can pick which job you want. And if somebody else has already been there, perhaps next week your popsicle stick will be pulled in a different rotation and you stand a little better chance at making it to the job that you want. So there are times where there are highly sought after jobs. Messenger's a highly sought after job. Insurance officer, also highly sought after, because those are my go-to people. And everybody wants to feel valued. Everybody wants to feel important. That's the roles kids usually want, are the ones that make them feel like they're a valuable piece of our classroom environment.
Yeah. So you just pull sticks and they pick a job. Have you ever had it where a student picks a job that just doesn't suit them, or they decide they don't like, or I hate to say this, but like maybe they just don't do a good job at it? Like how do you
Yes.
handle that?
Just like adults will wind up in situations where they find out they're not very good at it either. Children have that same problem. And so sometimes you do. You have someone who perhaps has some time management issues of their own, but they would really like to be timekeeper. And I will give almost everybody a chance the first time around, but not only do I expect them to do their jobs, their peers expect them to do their jobs. And if somebody drops the ball and is not doing their job, it will be called upon them that it has been noticed, and they will either need to step it up, or perhaps the insurance officer will need to step in and navigate that job for the rest of the week. And they should be picking something more friendly for them the next time that jobs are chosen next week.
Yeah.
It happens.
Okay. Yeah. 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 And it's good that you've got kind of like a process and a procedure to go through for that.
Mhm.
So if somebody's watching this right now and they like the idea of all of this, but it sounds so overwhelming to them, like where would you encourage a teacher like that to start?
Decide how many kids you have in your classroom coming in the fall,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that all of them have a job. Now, if you get kids that move in, then you have vacation positions. Who doesn't want a vacation once a week where you don't have to be responsible for anything? But decide how many kids you've got, and then look through my list and pick the things that sound like They're the most tedious jobs that you forget to do yourself, like put things in their mailboxes. I never was very good at that. So pick the jobs that make the most sense to you. And truly, all it requires is a pitch at the beginning of the school year where you discuss the jobs with them. My kids make the bulletin board for the jobs, and they have clothespins that they hook up onto the job tag. And it is really no muss, no fuss. Once you get those jobs in place, you would be amazed at how much less minutia you have to manage as a classroom teacher.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. This is fantastic, Gina. So, classroom jobs, students get a say in how the classes run. They get to handle duties to make it happen, and the teacher gets a reprieve from some of their classroom duties.
Yes.
And all along, the students get more autonomy and choice. I love this.
Mm-hmm.
This is fantastic. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking of autonomy and choice, the last 3 videos in this series have given us some practical ways to implement those in the classroom. Now, Gina, you're a 5th grade teacher,
Yes.
but some of these ideas could be used for younger students or for older students. So let me just ask you in general, what could autonomy and voice look like for younger students in primary grades, or even older students in middle school or even secondary?
You know, if you've got littles love to help with things. It makes them so happy to be able to help their teacher do stuff. They like to lead lines and things like that. Littles are pretty easy to sell on some of these concepts. Older kids is really where the heart and soul of it is, because those older kids really want to feel like they're part of something bigger, that they're adding something to their classroom, to their day that only they can add, that they're getting an opportunity to do something that makes them feel like they're a valuable piece of your classroom. So some of my best messengers have been my kids that can't stand to sit still in a classroom. And that messenger job fits them beautifully because they like to be up and out of the room. So a lot of those jobs work really great for older kids, especially kids that don't get much validation anywhere else. If they're doing a good job at their classroom job posting, then it makes them feel better about themselves at the end of the day.
Yeah. I love all of this. Just like this whole series, like all of these things. Cause like when you think about it, I mean, if you ask yourself, what would more autonomy and choice look like in your own classroom? I mean, students start to help create the classroom community. It's someplace where they feel at home. They feel validated in what they're doing, to learn, instead of just feeling like school is something that's done to them, which I think a lot of kids feel. And then, when you sort of get to build it side by side with them and you get to encourage them, they really feel like their teacher is the ally, is like an ally in what they do at school. So yeah, this is something I'm super excited about. I think this is fantastic. So
I couldn't teach without classroom jobs. I wouldn't even know how to go back and do it any other way.
yeah, definitely. So if you're watching this, I got to ask you, is this resonating with you? Would you like to continue taking some steps to encourage more autonomy and voice in your classroom, just like you already have by watching some of these videos? Now, if that sounds like you've got to check out our 4th and final video in our 4-part series called Our Class, Our Voice. And in it, Gina will give you her very best advice, strategies, and tips for helping your students to really own learning in your classroom. Plus, there is a special part of this last video that is time sensitive, so don't wait too long before you watch it. Now, we want to hear from you. Before you leave, would you add a comment down below to answer one of these questions? First, have your students ever held classroom jobs? And if so, can you tell us about it? And second, if they haven't, how do you think this could apply in your class or be done well in any class? Now, also, if you know someone who would love to watch this video series, you can send them to this link, ditch.link/ourclass. Or they can sign up for email updates by going to ditchthattextbook.com/101 to join our email list. And again, that link for the video series, one more time, is ditch.link/ourclass. Thanks so much for watching this video, and we will see you in the comments and in that 4th and final video. Take care.